Hello, friends. Welcome to Pillow and Pages, where gentle stories carry you into peaceful sleep. So settle in, get comfortable, and let the day fade away. You know, I've been thinking about hands lately. Not in any big way, just the other morning I was making coffee and I looked down at my hands and they reminded me of someone. The way I held the mug, the angle of my wrist when I poured, that little thing I do where I tap the spoon twice on the rim before setting it down. I don't know where I picked that up. Actually, no, I do. I picked it up from watching someone who picked it up from watching someone else, and none of us ever decided to do it. It just traveled, and it hit me that we carry people in the smallest ways. In gestures we didn't know we inherited, in habits we couldn't trace if we tried. Maybe you've noticed that too. Some little motion you make, stirring something, folding a towel, the way you tuck your feet under yourself on the couch, and you realize you're doing it exactly the way someone taught you, without either of you knowing it was a lesson. My grandmother used to hold a mixing bowl against her hip when she stirred, and I caught myself doing the same thing last week, 40 years later. The body just remembers what it was shown. That's the kind of evening we're settling into tonight. A story about the things that pass between hands. Not anything dramatic. Not a big revelation. Flour and sugar and a kitchen counter that's seen a lot of evenings exactly like this one. The kind of warmth that doesn't need explaining. But first, let's let the day go. Let your eyes close whenever they're ready. No rush. They'll know when. Not just the pressure. The way the pillow seems to hold back, like it's been waiting for you. The warmth where your skin meets the fabric has been building since you lay down, and it's yours now. That small warmth. Your shoulders are still holding something. They've been holding it all day. You probably can't even name what it is anymore. But it's there, in the muscles right above your collarbones, in the spot between your shoulder blades where the day likes to gather. You don't need to push it out. Just notice it, the way you'd notice a coat you forgot to take off. And as you notice it, the weight starts to change, not because you're doing anything, because attention is a kind of permission. The muscles hear you noticing and they soften, like butter left on a warm counter. Not melting, easing, becoming less than they were a moment ago. Your arms are heavier now, your wrists, your fingers. Each one releasing whatever it was holding, a steering wheel, a phone, a pen, a thought you hadn't finished. They're all dissolving now, becoming warmth, becoming weight without purpose. And that's all they need to be right now. Not useful, not ready, here. Resting in the exact shape they fell into when you stopped asking them to do things. And your breath has been doing something you might not have noticed. It's been slowing down, not because you told it to, because the room is quiet, and your body is remembering what quiet means. Each exhale a little longer than the last, each inhale a little less effort, like a tide that's decided to come in so gradually nobody marks the moment the sand goes dark. You're sinking now, not falling, sinking. the way a warm stone settles into soft riverbed sand, slowly, evenly, finding the shape that was always waiting for it. And somewhere in that sinking, there's a smell, something warm and sweet, like vanilla and brown sugar, drifting from a room you can almost picture. Tonight's story is called Flower on the Counter. It takes place in a small house at the end of a street lined with oak trees that have been there longer than anyone on the block. The kind of neighborhood where people still leave their porch lights on for each other, not because they're worried about anything, but because that's what you do. Dorothy Winslow, Dot, to anyone who knows her, has lived in this house for 40-some years, long enough that the kitchen counters have a permanent smoothness from decades of wiping. Long enough that she knows which floorboard to avoid at night when she doesn't want to wake anyone. Long enough that the third step on the staircase creaks in a way she stopped hearing a long time ago. Tonight, the house smells like vanilla and brown sugar because her granddaughter Lily is here for the weekend. And when Lily is here, cookies happen. That's not a plan anyone made. It's what the house does when Lily's inside it. Dot has her good apron on, the blue one with the faded sunflowers that she got from a catalog probably 15 years ago, or 20. Time does that in kitchens. Years blur together when the same hands reach for the same mixing bowl in the same cabinet. Lily is standing on a wooden step stool that Dot's husband built before Lily was born. Before he got sick, actually. He made it because the counter was too high for their daughter when she was small. And then their daughter grew up and moved to Portland. And then Lily came along and the stool was exactly the right height again. Things work out like that sometimes. Lily's hair is pulled back in a ponytail that's already coming loose. There's a smudge of flour on her left cheek, and she hasn't noticed it yet, which means Dot hasn't mentioned it either. Some things are better left exactly where they land. The kitchen window above the sink shows the last bit of daylight going orange through the trees. There's a cardinal on the feeder outside. Dot notices it, but doesn't say anything because Lily is concentrating, and you don't interrupt concentration at that age. Or any age, really. The cardinal picks at a sunflower seed, thinks about it, picks at another one. Picky eater. Dot's husband used to fill that feeder every Sunday morning. She does it on Wednesdays now, not because Wednesday is better, but because that's when she remembers. The recipe is on a card, not a phone, not a tablet, an actual card written in Dot's mother's handwriting. The ink has faded to a kind of soft brown, and there's a grease stain in the corner from some evening decades ago that nobody remembers. Dot could make these cookies without the card. She's made them hundreds of times, but the card sits on the counter every time anyway, propped against a sugar canister. Because it belongs there. Some things belong where they are. Lily is measuring flour. She's concentrating so hard that her tongue is poking out the side of her mouth. Which is something Dot's daughter used to do too, which is something Dot probably does herself without realizing it. The flour is supposed to go into a metal measuring cup, leveled off with a butter knife. Most of it does. A reasonable amount ends up on the counter, on Lily's shirt, and in a small drift near the sugar canister that looks a bit like a tiny snowbank. Dot doesn't say anything about the mess. She learned that from her own mother. That flour on the counter is the whole point. If the counter is clean, nobody is making anything. Her mother used to say that, actually, or something like it. The exact words have gone soft over the years, the way things do, but the feeling is still sharp. Clean counters mean an empty kitchen. An empty kitchen means nobody's home, and Dot's kitchen is very much not empty tonight. The butter has been sitting out since this morning. Dot set it on the counter right after breakfast, which is something her mother always did. Take the butter out first, before you even think about what you're making, because butter has its own schedule, and if you try to rush it, well, you get lumps. And lumps are fine in some things, but not in these cookies. Lily cracks an egg. She does it one-handed, which she saw someone do on a video, and has been practicing for weeks. It mostly works. A small piece of shell lands in the bowl and Lily fishes it out with her finger, holding it up like evidence. "Got it," she tells her grandmother. "Good eye," Dot says. "My mother used to say the shell is just the egg's way of making sure you're paying attention." Did she really say that? No, Dot admits, but she should have. Sounds like something she'd say. The mixer is old. Avocado green, the color everything was in that decade. Dot got it as a wedding present, and it still works, which she takes as a personal accomplishment even though she hasn't actually done anything to maintain it, besides wiping it down after use. Her daughter keeps telling her to get a new one of those fancy ones in the bright colors that cost as much as a weekend away. Dot always says maybe. Maybe is the most useful word in the English language, when you have no intention of doing something, but don't feel like explaining why. The beaters click into place with a sound she could identify blindfolded. Lily watches the dough come together. There's that moment. Dot loves this moment, where it stops being separate things, where the flour and the butter and the sugar and the egg stop being ingredients and just become one thing, warm and thick and exactly right. She lets Lily turn the mixer off. Lily does it with ceremony, like she's powering down a spaceship. Dot hands her a wooden spoon. The chocolate chips are in a yellow bag on the counter, and Lily pours them in with the confidence of someone who believes there is no such thing as too many chocolate chips. Dot has a quiet opinion about this, but keeps it to herself. Grandmothers are allowed to have opinions they don't share. That might be the whole job, actually. Lily licks the spoon. Dot pretends not to notice, which is its own kind of permission. There are things you're supposed to say about raw eggs and such, and things you actually say, which is nothing, because the joy on a 7-year-old's face when she thinks she's getting away with something is worth more than any food safety lecture ever printed. The dough smells the way this kitchen has always smelled when something good is happening. Warm and brown and sweet in a way that isn't just sugar. It's the wood of the cabinets and the gas from the oven pilot and the soap Dot keeps by the sink. All of it together. A smell that is less a scent and more a coordinate. A place you could find with your eyes closed. The cookies are in the oven. 12 minutes, the card says. But Dot always gives them 11 because her oven runs a little hot and has for as long as she can remember. She tried getting it fixed once, years ago, and the repairman told her it was fine. She didn't believe him, but she also didn't argue. And now she knows everything in this oven takes 1 minute less than what anyone says. Lily has moved to the living room. She's sitting on the couch with her legs tucked underneath her. That thing children do where their bodies are somehow both completely relaxed and geometrically impossible. She's got one of Dot's throw pillows in her lap, the knitted one with the pattern that doesn't quite match anything else in the room, which is what makes it perfect. The oven ticks, not a timer. The oven itself, the metal expanding as it heats. It's a sound Dot has heard 10,000 times, and it still sounds like the house thinking. Dot sits down next to Lily, not close enough to crowd her, but close enough that their shoulders almost touch. There's an art to sitting next to a 7-year-old. Too close and they squirm. Too far and they migrate toward you anyway, so you might as well save them the trip. The lamp beside the couch has a warm bulb. Dot replaced all the bright ones years ago. The kind that makes everything look like a painting from the 1800s, all gold and amber and soft edges. Her daughter said the house was too dim. Dot said the house was exactly dim enough. They had this conversation probably 4 times before her daughter gave up, which is how most of their disagreements end. Not with resolution, with someone deciding it isn't worth the energy, which is its own kind of peace. The truth is, Dot likes the dimness. She likes that the corners of the room disappear in the evening. It makes the house feel smaller, which makes it feel warmer. Which is, well, that's the whole point of a house, isn't it? Lily is telling Dot about something that happened at school. Something about a friend named Harper who said something about another friend's shoes. The details are, well, the details are 7-year-old details. Intricate and urgent and completely impossible to follow from the outside. Dot nods in the right places. She asks a question that makes Lily's eyes go wide, which means it was the right question. She doesn't try to solve anything. She listens, which is, now that she thinks about it, exactly what her mother used to do. Sit there, nod, ask one good question, let the talking be enough. Outside, the street light on the corner has come on. It does that at the same time every evening. Not because it's smart enough to know when it's dark, but because someone programmed it that way a long time ago, and nobody has changed it since. It throws a pale circle on the sidewalk that the neighborhood cats like to sit in. Dot knows this because she's watched them from this couch 100 times, doing exactly what she's doing now. Sitting, listening, being the kind of still that only happens when someone small is talking and you want them to keep going. The timer goes off. The cookies. The cookies are cooling on a wire rack. 4 of them didn't make it to the rack. 2 for Lily, 2 for Dot, eaten standing up at the counter with glasses of milk that left rings on the wood. Dot will wipe those rings tomorrow. Or she won't. Either way, the counter has had worse. They're back on the couch now. Lily has moved closer. Her shoulder is pressed against Dot's arm, and her feet are tucked under the knitted pillow. She's got a cookie in one hand, her third, but who's counting? And she's eating it in that slow, absent-minded way children eat when they're getting tired. Small bites, long pauses between them, like she's forgetting she's eating and then remembering again. Dot has a blanket. The big one, the gray wool one that's too warm for most of the year, but perfect for evenings like this, when the house is cooling down from the oven and the windows have gone dark. She pulls it over both of them. Lily doesn't react, which means she expected it. Some things don't need announcing. The lamp is still on, only the one. It makes a circle of amber on the ceiling that doesn't quite reach the corners of the room, so the edges of everything are soft. The bookshelf, the photographs on the mantel, the curtains that Dot sewed herself from fabric she bought at a shop that closed down a long time ago. Lily's breathing has changed. It's slower now, deeper. That shift that happens in children like a switch being turned. 1 minute they're talking about Harper's shoes, and the next minute they're somewhere else entirely. Her head is heavy against Dot's shoulder. Her fingers have gone slack around the half-eaten cookie. Dot reaches over carefully and takes the cookie, sets it on the end table. She does this with the precision of someone who has done it before, who has learned that waking a sleeping child is one of the great unnecessary tragedies of domestic life. The house is quiet. The oven has stopped ticking. The furnace hums somewhere below, a low, warm sound that isn't really a sound at all, more of a feeling. A vibration in the floor that means everything is working the way it should. Dot closes her eyes, not because she decided to, because they decided for her. The blanket is warm. Lily is warm. The last smell of cookies is still in the air, fainter now, mixing with the wool of the blanket and the faint lavender of whatever shampoo Lily's mother buys. She thinks about her own grandmother for a moment. Not a specific memory, more of a shape. The shape of someone sitting beside her when she was small. The weight of an arm. The sound of breathing that meant someone was there and everything was fine. And then she isn't thinking about anything at all. The lamp makes its amber circle on the ceiling. The blanket rises and falls with 2 sets of breathing that have, without trying, without knowing, found the same rhythm. In and out, slow and even, like a tide that has nothing left to do but come and go. The flour is still on the counter. The mixing bowl is in the sink. The recipe card is propped against the sugar canister, where it always is. Everything in this kitchen will be here in the morning, exactly where it belongs. But that's tomorrow. Right now there is only this. The warmth, the weight, the sound of 2 people sleeping in a house that knows how to hold them. And like that, the day is done. If you're still with me, that's perfectly fine. There's nowhere else to be. The cookies are made, the kitchen will wait, and the only thing left to do is exactly what Dot and Lily are doing right now. Let the warmth hold you. Let your breathing slow. Let everything that happened today sit on the counter like a little bit of flour. It'll be there in the morning if you need it. And if you don't, that's fine too. Good night, friends. Sleep well. I'll see you next time.